Parramatta Jail, 1974. Ray Denning and two accomplices are escaping that prison when a guard intervenes and tries to stop them. Ray Denning jumps down off the ladder with a hammer in his hand and whack, 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 puts 21 fractures in that prison guard's face.
All I have in this world is my balls and my word, and I don't break them for no one. Do you understand?
Rightio legends, Chaos Chronicles, and we're back again with another video. And so today we're doing a video on Ray Denning. And so if you guys don't know who Ray Denning is, he's one of Australia's most violent men, violent prison escapees, and just all-round nutcase. And we're doing a video on him today. But before we get into it, as always, guys, if you haven't already, jump down, shoot me a subscription. That'd be absolutely appreciated. And if you tap that bell icon, you'll never miss any of my clips again. All right, so Ray Denning, let's get into it. So I guess, Ray Denning didn't really have much of a chance, to be honest. So he came from a house where his father was a very, very brutal, violent drunk. And so so in that house, his mum put up with the domestic violence that his dad put her through. And so because of that, Ray actually witnessed his mother commit suicide in front of him and his brothers and sisters. So, a pretty brutal upbringing. He was born in New South Wales, and as at a very, very young age. So like Ray Denning was doing things at the age of 18 that most crooks wouldn't even dream about doing if they've been doing crime their whole life. So, he was doing armed robberies, and that's what he liked to do. He liked doing armed robberies on banks, and that was his thing, But like I said, he never stood a chance. So his dad was a very violent drunk, and always, used to be very, very violent towards his mum. And like I said, so his mother committed suicide in front of him, and that sent him into a spiral of destruction and sent him into, as you can imagine, for any young child, it's so what they didn't say in that actually is Ray Denning actually had to try and put his mother out at 10 years old. So that's just absolute. Can you imagine what that would do to you as a 10-year-old child? So it wasn't long before he was in the juvenile system. People say that he was institutionalized before he was 18, but at 18 years old, he was sent to Parramatta Jail for an armed robbery. And it was during that prison sentence that he tried to escape that prison. And in that escape attempt, with a hammer, he bashed prison officer Willie Faber near on to death. So that guy survived for 3 years after that, almost 4 years actually, after that attack. He was on life support and then died. So he actually couldn't get charged for murder over that, but over that failed escape attempt, he was sent to Grafton prison. And so Grafton prison 100% was deemed to be the most escape-proof prison in Australia at the time. And this is the prison that he was sent to.
Craig Cousins spent time in the same jail 20 years later, and even then, conditions were appalling.
It was an absolute hellhole. It was old, filthy, absolutely driven by the screws in their hatred of the maggots, as they used to refer to the prisoners there.
So you need to understand how brutal Grafton prison was. So this is somewhere where beatings went on daily, and not by the prisoners. This is beatings that went on by the prison guards. So they were absolutely brutal, and this was a prison that was guarded by guns. So they used to sit up on their gun towers all day, point their guns at the prisoners and taunt them. But the bashings that used to go on there was absolutely bonkers. And so this was somewhere where they used to run the gauntlet. So if you don't know what run the gauntlet is, so the screws would line up 20, 30 on either side, And if you messed up, they would make you run down the middle of them, while every single one of them had a baton in their hand and would batten the shit out of you while you get up the other end. And this is how brutal it was. Like, the prisoners actually feared the prison guards just as much as they feared the other prisoners. So it wasn't long before Ray had had enough, and he'd had enough of the brutality and said, I am going to get the fuck out of here. And so that's exactly what he did. And so in 1981, he escaped from Grafton prison. So 1980, sorry. So he escaped from Grafton prison, the first person ever to escape from Grafton prison. But the way he escaped from Grafton prison was actually quite ingenious. So he put himself inside a garbage bin, covered himself with garbage, and then bang, the garbage truck come and picked him up and emptied him into the back of the garbage truck, and he escaped. And so he was the first person in history to escape from Grafton prison. And so he was on the run for 19 months, and he was recaptured again at the end of 1981, I believe. And in that time, he was doing armed robberies and just running an absolute muck. But how he was caught, so he was caught whilst he was on the run by a snitch. So somebody knew where he was, another criminal knew where he was, and snitched and told the police where he was. And so he was actually in Sydney about to do another job. And so police, the CIB, intercepted him at the lights and arrested him without incident, actually, and he was sent straight back to prison. But before Ray got caught, he terrorized the police. So he actually, at one time, walked straight up to a police station, put his palm print on the front door, and then rang that police station and let him know to check the palm print on that door, to let him know, just to piss them off. But what he actually did, so he started writing a diary while he was at Grafton prison, trying to get Grafton prison shut down. And so while he was on the run, he actually hooked up with these prison activist people, and then they actually filmed him, like this mini documentary thing of him documenting whilst he was on the run how brutal Grafton prison was. And then he got all these people on board to try and shut down Grafton prison. And yeah, so he sent that video into a television station and got them to produce that, and then that was put out while he was on the run. But like I said, he was caught, and yeah, he was back in prison, and it wasn't very long before, like, he got caught again in 1981, and in 1988 he escaped again. So he managed to trick all the warders and all the prison guards and even these prison activist people into believing that he was a fully reformed prisoner, when the truth was it was all a ploy so he could plan his escape. So in 1988 they moved him to Goulburn prison. And when he was at Goulburn prison, and this was the minimum security wing of Goulburn prison, and whilst he was at the minimum security wing of Goulburn prison, he escaped again. So whilst he was at Goulburn prison, he met a new girlfriend, and through pen pal, and then she actually left her husband, left her kids behind and everything. And so on this day, he leaped over the wall and took off again with his brand new girlfriend. And there he was again, off and at him again, arm robbing and back causing an absolute menace. So it was during this time where he ran into Russell Mad Dog Cox. So Russell Mad Dog Cox had been on the run for 11 years. 11 years he'd been on the run for, and the police couldn't find him, and Ray Denning found him in a week. And soon enough, they took up doing armed robberies together, and they done, actually, in Brisbane, the biggest payroll robbery at the time, armoured car hold up. So it was $327,000 in 1988 or something, I believe. But anyway, a lot of money in its time. And so it wasn't long before they took off from Brisbane and came back down to Victoria. So Ray and Russell Mad Dog Cox. And so what actually happened on the day of their arrest, so they were in Doncaster and they were following around another payroll. And so during that payroll, the people in the payroll truck seen that they were being followed suspiciously. So they called through to the police. And then when they got to their destination, they walked into the destination to drop off cash. And Russell Mad Dog Cox and Ray Denning got spooked because they seen police cars driving around. So they went into a building and tried to hide in like a coffee shop, and they were both arrested. And so Ray Denning and Russell Mad Dog Cox, who was on the run for 11 years, then were caught on that day. And so what actually happened after that literally blew everybody's mind, and no one believed that this would happen. And so what actually happened is Ray Denning actually turned informer.
Got to throw us a bone. I just got to know that we're the only ones here. We're in the Women's Remand Centre, Ray. We've cleared the whole joint out. There's just you, me, and Detective Sergeant Jones. There's no one else in the whole building. I just can't have this one getting out. You'll be right. No one knows you're here.
So like I said, he turned informer, supergrass, snitch, dog, rat, whatever you want to call it. That's exactly what he turned. And so the worst thing is he literally started unearthing the whole criminal underworld. And what was really worse about it is the person who come and saved him from escaping from prison, Russell Cox, he went and dobbed on him as well. And what was bad about that is it's believed that Russell Cox, whilst he was escaped, tried to break back into prison to escape. So in return for snitching all his mates, he received less than a 5-year sentence for all those prison escapes, for all those armed robberies, for all the armor card stick-ups. He got less than 5 years prison. But it wasn't to be for Ray Denning, as most of these people. So he was released in 1993, and in 1993, he died from a suspicious heroin overdose. So it's well believed that he was given a hot shot.
Self-administered heroin overdose.
My guess is it was foul play, whether directly or indirectly, whether it was a hot shot, whether somebody gave him that hot shot deliberately, we don't know.
And although no one was ever charged over this hot shot, a few years later, a confidential informant gave evidence that this is exactly what happened, that someone did give him a hot shot. And the police knew that this is what happened. And even his girlfriend knew that this is what happened. So everyone knew that this is what happened. He must have known that this is what was going to happen. He literally snitched on every single prisoner in Melbourne at the time. And yeah, he was a very, very hated man. And so 1993, Ray Denning, no more. And so no one had to worry about being snitched on anymore. But there you go, guys. The crazy story of the absolute animal beast, Ray Denning. The guy was a psychopath at a very, very young age. And yeah, definitely made an impact on the criminal underworld here in Australia. So definitely deserves a place in our Underbelly's most feared. So there you go, guys. If you got anyone else you'd like me to do a video on, chuck it down there in the comment section of this video. And yeah, if you haven't already subscribed, jump down there, shoot me a subscription. If you tap that bell icon, you'll never miss any of my clips again. All right, guys, don't do drugs and crime and you won't end up in prison.
The Chaos Chronicles, where the darkness thrives.